local television show called Breakfast on Broad on Thursday morning. This side here. Roger and I went on this show, Breakfast on Broad, on Thursday morning in Philadelphia, and he terrorized the blonde co-host for the show. It was fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, I think they're showing it on their Facebook page. We'll probably link to it, put it on the Monster Mania Facebook page. But you know, to see Roger in action at 10 of 8 in the morning was amazing. Next up, I'm very honored to be able to welcome. He starred in As Good as It Gets. He starred in The Craft. You know him as Billy Loomis from Scream. Please welcome Skeet Ulrich. Okay, next up, she starred in Party of Five. You may have seen her in Wild Things. I'm sure you've seen her in The Craft, and you've certainly seen her in Scream, in the Scream series. Please welcome Sydney Prescott, Nev Campbell. I've been waiting years to say that. So what we'll do is, again, for those of you that might not have attended one of the previous Q&As, the air conditioning here is very loud behind us. So if you could, when we call on you, just if you would raise your hand if you have a question, when we call on you, just stand up and try to project your voice loud so we can hear it. We'll repeat the question so everyone can hear it, and then we'll answer the question. So, right here, in the red.
What are your favorite scary movies?
So the first question to the crew here is, what are your favorite scariest movies? We'll start with Roger.
Well, as I always say, the scariest movie I've ever seen was a documentary by the great director Frederick Wiseman called Titicut Fathers. But as far as horror movies go, there are so many I love that I can't even begin to list them. So now to make it easy on myself, I go with one that is not well enough known, called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, with Campbell Darby and Tim Hunt. What? I said it wasn't well known. Well, this crowd, come on. That's a great picture.
We'll get her later. Find her. She's ours.
I remember when they showed that on ABC TV back in the 70s, and the birth of the movie of the week, and it scared the out of me.
Yeah, I remember that. I was a kid when I saw that. It scared the shit out of me. Skeet?
Forrest Gump. Definitely the scariest thing I've ever seen. The Exorcism of Emily Rose certainly terrified me. The Exorcist, I don't know, something about religious horror just really frightens me.
What about you, Nev?
The Changeling, George C. Scott. The wheelchair, are you kidding me? The fall down the stairs. If any of you haven't seen that film, it's brutal, terrifying.
That's a great ghost story.
Yeah.
Okay, question right here.
Yeah, in that scene in part 1 where Billy snuck through Sid's window, you don't hear the Reaper was playing in the background. Was that kind of like a hint to horror fans that maybe Billy's a psychopath?
I don't know, because they didn't play it when we were doing the scene. So if it was, they didn't tell us. All I remember is that what you sleep in?
Okay, anyone over here? Always a question, right here.
Any scene that you didn't like shooting, and when it was actually in the actual movie, you got that
A scene that we did not like shooting.
You didn't like shooting at the time,
All of them?
No,
It's a joke.
yeah. I think the final sequence, which I guess could be considered a scene, was challenging because it took us, what, 3 weeks to shoot. I think
Yeah.
the final sequence, like all the fight sequences and the whole discovery of who the killers were and all of it. I remember the drag of it was having to put on these costumes that were covered in corn syrup that hadn't been washed for weeks, and having to like
Yeah.
wet them and break them down so we could get into them again. That was great.
Yeah, the exciting part was like we shot in Napa Valley and in California, and we were in this hotel that we'd come in at like 6 in the morning from a long day's work, and all the people were coming out of the hotel to go venture into town, looking at us like,
Covered in blood.
what in the world is going on? And yeah, I remember my pillows were like covered in like
Yeah.
pink from, I mean, no matter how much you showered, there was still residue from the blood all over the sheets and the pillowcases. But to answer, yeah, that scene, we had no idea how it would turn out. It took a long time to make. The NC-17 version, I guess, was much gorier than what you see now. But it was fun. It was very fun.
Okay, who else has a question? Right here.
Yes, Ms. Campbell, I just wanted to know, when the Scream series first came out, how did you prepare to play Sydney? And as the series went on and she changed, did your methods to get ready to prepare yourself to be here today, did they change as well?
If you guys can't hear, he asked
Yeah.
if, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, basically the question is, what different preparation did Nev use as she played Sidney Prescott through the progression of the Scream films?
I think I learned who Sydney was in those stages as they were handed to me, as the scripts were handed to me, and as I had to conceive of what next horror she was going through and experiencing. I guess the challenge for playing Sydney was always how to keep it interesting, because obviously the majority of the time she's in fear, so what levels of fear can you show to keep it interesting to the audience and not be monotonous in some way. And to me, it was just the reality of her circumstances and considering those circumstances and just trying to be true to the character. So as the series went on, it was just considering the fact that she was growing. You know, in the first she was a victim, in the second, who became stronger. In the second, she was someone who had learned how to be a victim and be stronger. In the third, she was someone who was over being a victim and didn't want to have to grow. That sort of process of maturity through trauma. I guess that was the thinking.
Right here.
So I was asked in the craft sort of the insecurities of each character and what we were going through, and I think thinking about women at that age and the insecurities that we all go through in that time. It's so interesting because Rachel True is in the audience. We were just talking about this. What are you doing in the audience? You should be up here. Anyone want Rachel to sit up here? Come here, Rachel. We can share a mic. Oh, good. And Skeet's son is coming up as well. You can help me answer this. The question was about how each character, the insecurities of each character at that time in the craft and what we were going through. Go ahead.
No,
you said it was interesting.
What did I say? It's like a wine a glass away. No, what I thought was interesting is that it was a time before social media and cell phones and all of that. So I think that's what was interesting about the craft, is that you have these girls in an insular world, and each has their own problem. My only problem was I was black. What was yours? Oh, yours was I was a burn victim.
That was the only problem.
Which can be a challenge. We were just talking about that.
But also I think that teenage girls have a lot of energy. Like I heard an interview with Andy Fleming, the director of the craft. He said he'd really like to work with teen girls because they're very vocal about their problems compared to teen boys. So they articulate what's going on with them, and so the manifestation of that was their powers.
There you go.
Take
I passed that one off.
Who else had a question? Right here.
Ms. Campbell, I hear tell that that this is your second horror convention. Is that true?
This is my third. I did one in Texas, horror convention, and then I just did one in London, England. So it's my second American one.
Are we to expect you to be in more conventions in the future?
You know what? I've really enjoyed them. It's been really fun. I had apprehension about it in the past, and you guys have been fantastic. The audience has been awesome. I think these things are really wonderful. It's a bunch of like-minded people coming together and finding each other and enjoying their passion, and everyone's been really kind and really wonderful. So thank you.
And I was going to say, we didn't realize like not everyone lives in New York and LA, where you see actors all the time. So conventions are kind of an awesome way to connect with people, and it is really exciting to meet people who the movies like Scream have meant something to, or the craft. So it's been actually a blast. Really good.
Okay. Right here.
Ms. Camp, real quick, what was it like visiting Sydney after 11 years? Because, you know, the Scream movies, they were supposed to be silly. You know, had that silly feel. What was like, oh, well, I have an idea. So, what was it like revisiting her after 11 years?
So the question is, what was it like revisiting Sydney after 11 years? Crazy. I was, and wonderful. I was nervous about it. It had been so long. I was wondering whether audiences would actually still be interested. And who would Sydney be at this point? You know, because she's obviously grown up. She's a grown woman at this point. And who would that person, that version of her be? I was happy with the author part of it. I was happy with the fact that she wasn't just in hiding anymore. And I think that made a lot of sense. It was interesting. I mean, it was interesting to go back on the set and realize the majority of the cast were the age that Skeet and I were when we did the films. It was Courtney and I, and David and I talked about that. We're like, we were that age a long time ago, and they're in this place now. And it was weird because some of them hadn't seen the films before, and we were like, yeah, you guys need to sit down and watch these. Like, I don't know, they hadn't seen them. And I kind of forced them to watch them. It's like, really? I think there's something to be honored here. And I think they all did a wonderful job. They did a really great job. So, but it was interesting, so thank you for that question.
Okay. Right here, and then I'll get the person in the back.
Have many of you watched any of the TV series? How many
I have a 3-year-old, so I've been watching, you know, animated television. I haven't had a chance to watch Scream yet, but I will. And a lot of people have been asking me, and I've heard mixed opinions so far. But I hope, you know, I know Wes is involved, and he's a smart guy, and I'm sure they'll do something good with him. So, yeah, I'm curious.
Okay. Person in the back with the green shirt.
How many times have you seen the original Scream?
Twice?
You've
I haven't
all
seen
seen
it
more
in
than
a
that.
long time.
When's the last time you saw it, Steve?
Probably 18 years ago.
I have a question for Son of Skeet. What was it like to see your dad in such an iconic role?
He hasn't.
I haven't even seen it yet. I've seen the behind the scenes stuff, but I've never seen the whole thing.
Have your friends seen it?
You know, it's interesting about the movie is it does seem to transcend generations.
It
Like,
does.
I see people in their grade, despite him, that are suddenly fascinated, about it. And I never saw that coming. Yeah, it seems to keep going generation by generation.
When we made the film, I remember us talking about it. It was so strange because nobody was really a name yet. It was even the first year of Friends. It was the first year of Party of Five. I mean, except for Drew Barrymore, nobody was a name yet. And I remember us spending the summer together and having this class and thinking, we knew it was a good script, but thinking, I remember us asking each other, do you think there'd be a Halloween costume? No. I don't think so.
I remember specifically when we were shooting, The Craft came out and it was #1 at the box office, and we were just so elated. I think we were having lunch with Carrie and those guys when the news hit, and we were like, oh my God, wow, we're #1 at the box office.
I remember having no idea what that meant though. Like I remember when Scream, the first week it came out, and it did 30 million. My agent's calling and saying, Nev, it made 30 million.
Which is like 60 million these days.
Yeah, at that time. And I remember saying, oh no, is that bad? Are you kidding me? I had no concept of what numbers should be. So it's interesting.
Okay, right here.
Don't be nervous.
Me too.
Matthew Lillard and Stuart.
So, I don't know, my favorite theory is that they made the merge made it not so sort of impressive. And there's like some weird, like, if you watch the movie, there's a couple scenes, there's a couple things you guys do that almost hint at things going on. Was that something you came up with, or are you truly oblivious to that?
I just found him hot. No, I never thought about it. I think that's sort of there, whether, without even having to do anything about it. Two guys that close who, plot that massive of a plan, it's inevitable that there's going to be that connection, neither of us ever talked about it or thought about it. Wes never mentioned it to us. Kevin never did. So it wasn't inside of what we were doing. I think it's inevitable that certain viewers see it that way. No, it was nothing we thought about.
Right here.
It was pretty much all right there in the script. They auditioned in the Bay Area, San Francisco, which is south of Santa Rosa where they were shooting, because Drew Barrymore wanted to have an actor to play the scene with instead of just having lines fed to her by a script person. So they put out the first scene to the casting agency. And that's what we had with no real direction, but it's all right there. The guy has to be interesting enough and kind of sexy sounding enough to keep her on the phone, get her interested, draw her in a little before the cat springs the trap on the mouse, if you know what I mean. So it can't be, it's gonna be kind of nice. And, oh, a little interesting. You can't be, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I make popcorn. Oh, hi. Oh, who am I talking to? Oh, you're making popcorn. I only make popcorn when I'm going to watch a movie. Oh, you like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie?
I met Roger yesterday.
Part 2.
We met yesterday. And that was Wes Craven's brilliance, is that he did not allow us to meet during any of the shoot. So that we would have this relationship and this grand fear that he was incredible at creating, just incredible. And he's such an icon in these films and did such an amazing job, and I'm so grateful to meet him.
Thank you. Yes, I think Wes definitely subscribed to the idea that the most terrible monster is the monster that you make with your own imagination. So that's why you never saw the face behind the mask. You never knew, the voice stayed the voice the whole time, and he kept us away from each other. And he never, I never, throughout any of the films, saw a whole script. I never saw anything but the scenes I was in, so I never knew who the killer was. So, but somehow I had to try to make it universal and different from film to film, because obviously in the first film, the guys die. So in the next film, it's not going to be them, it's got to be somebody else. But I have no idea who it is, so I can't base what I'm doing on the actors. So, as I've said in some other interviews, really Ghostface is the worst in each and every one of us. You poor sick people.
Nev, when you were filming the movie, did they record Roger's lines first and you would actually react to them? Is that how it was filmed? Or would you hear the phone calls and the voice and stuff, or was that done after?
Roger?
No, they hired me to play the scenes with Drew Barrymore. She wanted an actor to do the scenes with. And they were going to later dub it in Los Angeles. But Wes and the producer, Marianne Magdalena, liked what I was doing so much, they said, hey, let's keep him. And I think in the tradition of not messing with the streak when you're pitching a no-hitter, they decided to keep everything just the way it was. So they decided for the rest of the time, keep me playing the scenes live.
Yeah, so he was
with the
calling in,
actors.
he was doing the scenes with
On set.
Wow.
And then he started saying, okay, we've got the script in the can. Now do something else. Try to scare them. So I try and come up with some things to give them the creeps.
Did very well.
Okay, right here in the middle. Okay.
How did Sydney feel about Tori Spelling playing her staff?
You know what? No. Honestly, I think I've met Tori a few times. She's actually a really cool lady. There's weird reputation around her. My brother worked with her on a film, and she did fantastically, and it was called Trick. And you know what? I thought she was great because she was willing to take the piss out of herself, out of the attitude that was in America at the time about her, and that she was willing to go there. And I thought there was something really cool about that woman to be willing to do
How
that.
did Sydney feel?
How did Sydney feel about it? Did Sydney know it was Tori? I can't remember if she knew it was Tori herself or it was something.
Cutting it would be Tori.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm not sure Sydney was very happy about it.
She was hoping it was Diane Lane.
Right here.
Did I what? I asked to, and did one scene in the costume, yeah. But Wes wanted a very, he wanted somebody 6'4", intimidating, even though it's, either Matthew or I. But I wanted to, so I did one scene in it where Jamie's watching the horror film, sitting on the sofa, and I'm creeping behind him. I was bored. It was fun.
Did Matthew play any of those scenes?
I don't think so. I think that was it, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah.
There were at times,
Yeah.
and sometimes it was the prop guys.
His name? What's that? His name, I think is Sincere. Well, we had him here a couple years ago.
I can't even remember my own.
There was like 3 people, I think, that played the role, but one guy was kind of like the main one. Right here.
What do we think of the scary movies the Wayans brothers doing? To be honest, I've seen about 40 minutes of the first one, and I thought it was I thought it was really funny. I can't remember why I didn't finish it.
I know, it's very funny.
No, I really can't. But I know people have had great fun and entertainment watching them, and the Weinsteins made a shitload of money. And, it is what it is.
Let's see, over here.
I'm old.
Yeah, that's great. Sony's remaking it, right?
Think about that.
I'm sure they'll make shitloads of money. No, you know what? I bet they'll make something great, and it'll be fun to watch. And I think Fairuza Balk put out in the press recently, good luck. But I'm sure they'll do something great.
I think it'll be interesting to see how that sort of
It'll be different.
theory
It'll be
has
very different.
changed over.
Be a lot of CGI,
Yeah, that and
which we didn't have. Yeah, so
Yeah.
how do you feel about it?
I don't know, it doesn't really have anything to do with us, you know? So I think for them, it would be great to come up with a new witch idea, but it's not a bad idea. We follow the money trail. So hopefully it'll be good, but I was surprised, I don't know if I told you this, but on Twitter, like everybody's like, no. So I don't know, how do you guys feel about it? Yeah, so but maybe it'll be really good. Some are saying said, all right, we'll do it then. But maybe it'll be really good.
They might make a brilliant second draft.
But
You
I
never
think
know.
good luck casting a Fairuza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great.
Or a Nev.
Everyone, no.
Yeah.
You know what? They'll just,
Or a
they'll be
Skeet.
people completely different.
Okay, right here.
In the first craft, if they focus on the storyline being the same.
Who do you want to play in? What child?
I wish I knew the younger generation, I'll be honest with you.
I used to be like, I used to know Zoe Kravitz when she was a really little girl. I think she'd be perfect, but she's kind of too high profile.
For which role?
Mine. The black
Yeah.
Because it's 2015 and not much has changed. But I think she's awesome, but I think she's too busy to do it. But other than that, I have no idea who anyone is. That's awful.
I've got a 3-year-old, I don't have time to watch.
I'd have Jacob play me.
There you go.
Okay, who else had a question? Right here.
Hi, mine's kind of a two-parter.
Hi.
Good to see you again. So, I find that a lot of people who aren't so into horror movies don't really realize that Scream is kind of like Cabin in the Woods, riffing on horror movies while at the same time doing the exact archetypes they're making fun of. Was that something you were able to pick up on right away when you were filming? And the second part, keeping that in mind, what do you think it means that Sydney doesn't die?
I think we did know. The script was pretty obvious. Kevin's script was so brilliant that anyone who read it understood the irony that was in there, and the play on the films themselves, on the genre themselves, in the writing. And it was fun to go with that and just be true to it. I think you just had to be true to the characters, and it came out in the writing. What was the second question?
I said keeping that in mind, that it was riffing on the archetypes. What do you personally think it means that Sydney
doesn't die? What do I think that means? I think I just have to go with the fact that they chose to have a heroine who was incredibly strong and isn't as huge a victim as in many other females in the genre. And there's something nice about that. And it's interesting because I've had a lot of people say, oh, what do you think about if they were to do a fifth, should Sydney be the killer? And no, but there were conversations about, the truth is she at this point, she's lost so many people, she'd have to be insane. Every single family member and every single friend and every single boyfriend has been slaughtered in front of her. She'd be in a straitjacket. But at the same time, how realistic is it that she would turn to be a killer? I don't know. But I think there's something wonderful about the fact that she's carried on and she's been strong, continues.
Thank you.
Okay. Question in the back there? Yes.
I can't hear you.
We can't.
Can you run up to the front and scream? Sorry.
What was it like for you guys to kind of single-handedly revitalize the horror genre at a time when it was kind of floundering and it became like this big juggernaut thanks to you guys?
We still couldn't hear you.
I heard it.
Did you? Okay.
What was it like for us at the time to be idolized in the horror genre that at the time was kind of floundering?
No, to revitalize the horror genre.
Revitalized.
When it was floundering.
But at the time it was difficult, right? I've had a lot of people ask me how I feel about the fact that Scream had such a huge effect, and did it affect my career? I'm sure it affected my career in certain ways, but at the same time it made my career. I've been so lucky. The films were intelligent and smart, and yes, they were horror genre, but they changed the horror genre in a huge way and did great things for my career, and I don't feel negative about it. Of course, there have been periods where that's all I get offered, because that's the first go-to. But at the same time, it's the very reason that I get offers in other films as well. So that's been great for me. What's the other question? There was a portion of that I'm forgetting.
You guys kind of single-handedly brought the horror genre
brought the genre back.
What brought you guys?
That was Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven. Inevitably, we were all very new to the industry and very grateful, to me, very grateful to be a part of it and lucky to be a part of something that was so intelligently written. And had such an intelligent angle on the genre. I was excited.
I don't think we necessarily knew, or I didn't anyway. I think you set out to tell a story, and whatever happens to it, happens to it. All the stuff outside of what we did day to day on the set, we were not necessarily thinking about, or I didn't. I think we were kind of in the moment of playing the characters and making the movie, and then we went our different ways and made other movies and other shows, and all of a sudden it did what it did. So Nev's right, it was really sort of outside of us what happened. I wasn't even aware necessarily that the horror genre was failing at that point, or that it was dead. For the movie to do what it did was great, but I don't think any of us sat on set sort of questioning that or thinking about it. We had a lot to do that day. Bless you.
Okay. The other person in the back that had the question? Yes.
This question.
Yeah.
Could you scream it?
Scream 4 has two very distinct scripts. There's Kevin Williamson's original draft, and then there's the one that's the final film. Which one is your favorite?
Do you know of Kevin Williamson's original draft of Scream 4?
Yes.
Interesting, because I never read it. No, I really didn't. I know that Kevin started a script, and I know that it wasn't necessarily going in the direction of where Bob Weinstein's mind was going, and what Kevin felt he wanted to make, they weren't matching. And we went through a lot of scripts, And inevitably came to where we came. So I'm not, I think there's some of Kevin in there, and I think there's some of other writers in there. And I know a lot of people came up to me today and said they're very happy with the fourth. I think we did a good job. No, but honestly, it's such a challenge. I was nervous about doing the fourth because how often is it that you make a good trilogy itself? Just to make 3 good films of anything, or even 2 good films of anything. We made 3. I was really nervous about doing the fourth. And I do actually, today actually gave me more faith in what we made by people's opinions. So thank you for that.
I had a question, Nev. Like when they do decide to do a sequel to the Scream films, is it they decide to do one and then they go looking for a script to fill that spot, or is it they get a script that they like so much that makes them decide to do another one?
No, I don't think they would pay for a script unless they had an intention. But I do think that they would have a conversation. They have conversations with writers or Kevin and get an idea going first and think about the fact of whether it's worth making. I know that every time that I've been approached, they've come to me with an idea, and people have come to me today, a lot of people over the last couple of days and said, will there be a fifth? And I don't know, they're making the TV show, I'm not sure they'll ever make a fifth, I'm not sure it would make sense. But the question has been, would I do a fifth? And my answer is always, if they come to me with a good idea, I'll do a fifth. It's a challenge. Like, how do you make it better? How we've done such a good job so far. Where would we go with it? It would have to be something really great.
Okay. Right here.
I think Rose McGowan's head getting chopped off and the garage door is pretty awesome. I don't know, it's kind of sick and fun. Skeet?
I think that's up there.
Yeah.
It's the first one that came to mind for me.
Yeah. It's just wrong.
Okay, in the middle there.
Whether I consider it or not, I've had a lot of women come up to me and say they've found strength as women by seeing a heroine, a female in a horror film not be the victim but be the strength. And so is it feminist? I guess it's feminist in that way, or it's I don't know if it's feminist, but it idolizes the strength of women, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay, right here in the middle.
Do we keep in touch with anyone from the films? Yeah, I was talking to Matt Lillard lately. Skeet and I have been hanging out a little bit. We've been seeing each other on these events, but we hadn't seen each other in years.
Long time.
Yeah. But yeah, you stay in touch here and there, or you run into each other, and it's always lovely when you do. Do we have any what? Witchcraft experts?
She remembers nothing of this.
No, what do you remember? We did. There was a woman who was a Wiccan, yeah.
I went to a belting ceremony in the Deep Valley where we had a Wiccan priestess give us a little insight to that. But you talked with her as well, correct? Yeah. And Feruza went to the Wiccan ceremony with me. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a Wiccan movie per se. That's what they tried to take it out of that realm and just make it, for basement, which is what Wiccan, kind of is. So. Oh, but I wanted to add, when you guys were talking about the craft, I remember Andy Fleming talking about female sexuality, and at that age with the characters, their powers are kind of stronger as they're becoming aware. So I think that's an interesting thing about teen movies, whether it's Scream or Craft or whatever, because it really is about people testing their own boundaries. Oh wait, you didn't hear that.
Rachel and I and Robin went, and it was in Los Angeles at a cemetery. They do screenings of films, and about 5,000 fans came to that, and we sat in the back and watched the film, and it was great fun. But it was amazing how many women were there and how many women talked to us about how affected they were and how strengthened they were by the film. It was so interesting. I never thought about that. I sort of thought at some point I was a part of a silly witch movie. And then I saw all these women feel, how passionately and having found strength from these films somehow. And it's amazing. You don't always realize what you're a part of at the time.
Okay, right here in the middle.
Between working with David, Matt, and Jamie, you guys really have to have some fun stories.
We won't share them, but just kidding.
We did ride a lot of go-karts.
We did. We did ride a lot of.
And we did shoot in Napa Valley, so we drank a lot of wine.
We drank a lot of wine. That's right.
The other stories we had.
Okay, over here.
Nothing that stands out, to be honest. I don't think there's. We're pretty tight with the scripts, because each script is so much about who done it. I mean, they're so complex, really, in order to hide and divulge a little bit, and then turn the audience and fool the audience in certain ways. It couldn't be a loose script, So anything that we shot was there for a reason.
Okay, question right there.
I have a question for Jacob. Do you have any ideas about any positive ideas about following in your dad's footsteps?
What'd you say? I mean, I think I would do it, but it's not my first choice of what I would like to do. Like professional skateboard.
That's probably the more lucrative choice.
Right here.
What was your favorite scene to film in Scream 1?
I don't know. The kitchen scene was a lot of fun. I mean, all of them were really kind of interesting. It seems like we shot that stuff at the school around that fountain pretty early on. And that was kind of interesting because I think there was a real sort of, I don't know, everybody sort of had it figured out by then. And it was the first time I really felt like everybody nailed really what the essence of each character was. And I don't know, a lot of it was, it was a long time ago now, but that scene in particular, I think we really sort of had found a groove, and looking back on it, it really felt like it was setting the tone for certainly Scream 1, for me.
Okay. In the back right there.
A little bit.
If you yell, words come forward.
And in the craft and the Scream movies, what is your favorite lines? If you like, okay, I like that line, favorite scene, or something like that.
I think out of the Scream movies, mine is "Don't fuck with the original." The Craft. Do you have a favorite line from The Craft? I can't remember that far back.
I like she's white, deal with it. Like my line during the movie. It's funny, it holds true today.
There you go.
Is that wrong?
No.
Oh no, whatever you do comes back times 3. Because I think that's actually like valid and important and true and not even like movie go. Like, whatever you do, whether it's bad or good.
Yeah.
like we all go a little mad sometimes.
It's not a big one, but I think I just really like, it's more of a game, really. Give you a hand with a blondie.
Roger's still in character.
Okay, over here.
You guys know from the start when the killer was engaged, and it's true, the rumor that one of the originals died, and the rest came out.
What was that?
I said, you guys know, like, who the killer was going to be, like, you know, it's going to be a killer in the movie, from the outset, and it's true that one of the original cast members died in the fourth movie.
I can't speak to the fourth movie, but yeah, we knew. We knew the whole time. Even before we, signed on to it, we had read the script and knew exactly what was going on.
The second and third and fourth were a bit different in the sense that they didn't let the entire cast know. I always knew who the killer was going to be, but they didn't always tell the entire cast.
And she wouldn't tell me.
I
can't tell you.
I would have been killed. I couldn't. And I'm sorry, what was the second question? Oh, there was a rumor that one of the original cast was going to die in the fourth. There was talk of it. I think we all decided against it.
Who was it going to be?
I can't remember now. I think there was talk of it. Well, there was talk of it being Dewey or Gale.
David?
Was it David? Was it David?
I don't know.
Skeet knows more than I do.
Okay, right here.
Were you ever apprehensive about doing Scream 3 without Kevin Williamson as a screenwriter?
I'm sorry?
Were you ever apprehensive about doing Scream 3 without Kevin Williamson as the screenwriter?
I was apprehensive about doing anything without Kevin Williamson. He's such a genius. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant writer. Inevitably decisions had to be made. I think it had to do with dynamic between Bob and Kevin and Kevin's busy too. He's working on so many different things at the moment, but also seeing eye to eye and being on the same page with things. I had been apprehensive about it, but inevitably at the same time I also knew that if West was involved, that we'd be able to keep a through line.
We're going to take a few last questions right here.
Roger, who did you freak out the most as you were filming the different films? I heard there's a couple of people that got a little nervous. These two look nervous as you're talking right now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was me.
That's right. Welcome, my Mel. One of my happiest moments on set was in filming 2 with Heather Graham. And I'm on a cell phone and I can hear everything that's going on, but they can't hear me when it's between the camera rolling. And we were filming the bit for Stab with Heather Graham, and I could hear her saying, "Who is this guy? He's really scary." I don't want to see him. I don't know anything about me. I really like that. But then Sarah Michelle Gellar comes on and she goes,
So you're the scary voice man, huh? You like scaring people? Why do you do that? Why do you like scaring
Okay, we're going to take one last question. Who's got the best question of the night? Let's see, we'll go right here.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good one now.
Do I wish that my character had had children? I certainly hope she'd never have children. Because as I said, everybody dies around her. Do I wish he'd been married? Or, you know, there was that possibility with Patrick Dempsey's character for a while, and we didn't go there in the fourth. That just seemed to disappear, didn't it? Which happens in life, you know. But that would have been years later. That'd be a long pregnancy. Sense at that time for the character, and I don't think it would have been right for them to have brought that into the films. Was there time to have had a scream baby? Between the first and second, yes, I could have had a scream baby. Oh, God. Okay. God. No, I think we've done right by not introducing family. That kind of family resume.
Okay, what we're going to ask the cast to do, if they would, if you could just stand together on